Jason Schaller on the line right now, entomologist from the ABQ Biopark. Hey, Jason, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning. Good. How y'all doing?
Well, you know what, man? We were looking for something to be terrified of other than some horrible, nasty virus that's killing the whole globe. So the murder hornets couldn't have come at a better time, man.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's nice to have a little distraction with something just as scary, if not more.
Yeah, they are scary.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm looking at the pictures yesterday when they broke this picture that they're officially on the mainland here. And I'm thinking, no, those can't be real. But sure enough, that's the deal, right?
Oh, yeah, they're real. They're definitely real. And, well, actually, they're a lot less scary than they look.
Okay,
and I'd say they're probably a lot less scary than COVID-19, just to be real.
Okay, good. Let's put it in perspective. Now, what I read about them, you can confirm. But the scary thing about these particular hornets is that their nests are in the ground. So if you think you can avoid their nest because they're up in trees like most others, that's not the case. So people actually die in China from walking through these nests by accident. Is that true?
Yep, that's true, but it's actually not a whole lot different than yellow jackets. Most yellow jackets here also nest in the ground or in cavities and walls and stuff. So it's pretty typical of a lot of hornet and wasp species.
What's the difference? You got a yellow jacket, you got a hornet, you got a wasp, you got a bee.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
All right, I'm going to try to do this as non-jargony as possible.
Okay, good.
So basically, wasp is a very broad term for a flying insect of the order Hymenoptera. So bees, ants, and wasps. It's a group kind of like butterflies and moths or beetles. So social wasps, which includes the yellow jackets, hornets, and paper wasps, those are all in one family called the vespid wasps. And those are the ones that really, sting people and make nests everywhere and stuff. The rest of the wasps are solitary, either tiny or non-aggressive. So the ones we're always worried about are the yellow jackets, paper wasps, and hornets. They're all related to each other. Hornets are just a bigger version. They're in one genus called Vespa. And true hornets are only found naturally in Europe and Asia and Africa. So many of the hornets that you find in the U.S. are introduced European hornets or, well, now possibly the giant Asian hornet.
Okay. Now, here's the worry. All right, let's just ask the obvious question first. We're here in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. How long till they get here? Are they going to get here? Do we have anything we got to worry about?
I would say it's pretty unlikely they would get here. For one thing, our climate is a little too dry. The only place they might survive would be up in the higher elevations, maybe in the southern Rockies or the Jemez or maybe parts of the Gila wilderness. But these guys really like their moist, temperate forests. They're from Japan and southeastern Asia, so they would do much better in like the Pacific Northwest or like the eastern seaboard. Okay. So here, I really don't think we have a good chance of seeing them.
So how do they travel?
But anything is possible. Things adapt quickly, so I'm not going to rule that out entirely.
Yeah, right.
How did they get to our continent?
How did they get here?
Yes.
You know what? I was doing a little research, and I'm not quite sure, and I'm not sure anyone knows. I imagine, I mean, usually things like, invasive longhorn beetles or little flies or something, come in on produce or wood. It's possible that there was maybe a little, like a hibernating queen or something that, found her way into some cargo. It's my guess. I'd like to do a little more research and try to figure that out, because that's kind of a hard insect to accidentally introduce.
Yeah, it would sound that way. It would sound that way. So let me ask you this. I'm guessing the danger to human beings, we're not going to even go there. But what I read was that the danger is to the bee population in the United States and their effect on the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, that is true. So they are like most other social wasps, carnivorous. They eat other insects, feed them to their growing larvae in the nest. And this species is particularly aggressive towards honeybee colonies and other social insect colonies. Like they'd go for yellow jackets too pretty easily. So that's one good thing that would come of them. But our honeybees are already stressed out from colony collapse disorder. There's a lot of issues with them. Genetics, inbreeding, pesticide use, which allows for diseases and mites to get hold of them easier. So this is really the last thing we need for our honeybees. And in Japan, and Southeast Asia, the local honeybees there, can defend themselves. They're able to detect, a scout coming from the hornet nest and basically swarm it and heat it to death.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm sure some of us have seen this on one of the nature shows out there. It's fascinating. But our bees here and bees in Europe and other parts of Asia where the hornet doesn't come from are a lot more susceptible. So, it's hard to say how bad they would actually get. At this point, it's pretty early on. It could be one of those invasives that, takes off pretty quickly and starts out-competing everything, or it could be one that just kind of slowly grows and exists in a few places, like, I'm trying to think of an example, but it's best in these cases to err on the side of caution and assume that it's going to be bad. So, hopefully they really get out there and do their best to try to extirpate it before it really gets a stronghold.
Yeah, you would hope it would, man. But so let me paraphrase what you just basically said. They like to feed on honeybees, but the Japanese honeybees have learned how to defend themselves. But here in America, our honeybees are pussies, and they're going to get worked real quick. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, they can barely hold up against varroa mites, so probably going to be an easy target for a giant hornet.
Yeah. And don't the hornets decapitate the bees? Is that how they do it?
Yeah, they'll decapitate the worker bees. When they go in to, raid a bee nest, they're really looking for the larvae. That's a rich fat and protein source that they can easily chew up and regurgitate to feed their larvae. And they'll feed on the adult bees, too. That's also food to them. But while they're trying to invade, they want to just kind of, kill as many as possible first so they don't have to deal with the stings from the honeybees. Because the honeybees can, sting the hornets and potentially kill them, too.
Okay, so they're not without defense, at least. That's good to hear. Now, I don't know if you've heard this story or not. I'm guessing you probably have. But I saw a nature special. It's got to have been in the last 10 years. Where the Asian carp was somehow introduced into the Mississippi River, and it finally found its way upstream real far, and it's just wasting all the stuff that the fishermen fish on in the Mississippi because they just, before you even knew it, they're just out of control. They're everywhere. And so I'm guessing that sounds like that's a similar thing to these murder hornets, right?
It could be. It's hard to say at this point. Every species is different. We have some things that, are introduced and kind of just blend in with everybody else, don't cause a huge deal. But it seems that more often than not, the invasives do tend to go out of control. So, it is something to worry about, like those carp there.
Well, all right, let me ask you this. How do the people that are going to have to control this, because apparently it's just in Washington State right now is where they made their appearance. If you're going to control it and you got to do it now, how do they go about that? They just going to spray everything? Is that the deal?
No, that wouldn't work because they're outdoors in natural habitat.
Okay.
So your best bet is to just really get a lot of eyes out in the woods around the area where they've first been noticed. And anytime an individual is observed, try to follow it back to a nest and then just find and just eradicate the nest. And that would be the best thing.
Well, you want to be the guy that charges that nest? I ain't doing it.
No.
Oh, yeah, no. You'd need some heavy-duty bee suits to go into there. A typical one wouldn't work too well.
Yeah, Can you tag a bee? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. That's a good question.
A little tiny tag, you know what I mean? Like they do on sharks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be great. A tracking device would be nice. Yeah. I don't know if we have that technology yet. I'm sure someone does somewhere.
Yeah.
And that'd be a good use for it. Here's a foraging wasp, stack of trackers, see where it ends up, because it's going to end up back at the nest. They always do.
So how do they kill people? Do you get stung and do only certain people die? Or?
I hear it. What I read is that it shuts down organs in some people. Like if you get a bad enough sting from one, it can shut down your kidneys or shut down a whole bunch of stuff and you die.
It's one of the most venomous insects known. So insects, that excludes, of course, spiders and scorpions. Insects generally aren't as venomous as any of your really venomous arachnids, but this one is it's pretty up there for a wasp. It's definitely a stronger venom than your typical honeybee venom or really most other stinging wasps for that case. But still, most deaths occur from, just like here in the U.S. with bees and wasps, from allergic reactions. The only way you're going to really have any risk of organ failure or just hospitalization is if you get attacked by a nest, if you stumble in and get a lot of stings. And, from what I've understood, they have a phrase in Southeast Asia where it says, 10 stings, go to a doctor, 20 stings, go to the emergency room, call 911. So, you're not going to just stumble into one and get stung and have to go to the doctor. One sting is going to hurt a lot, but it's not going to do much to you. unless you are, allergic, but, usually you're not going to be allergic unless you've had other stings in the past before.
Right.
Now, can they mutate? Can they breed with other bees and create hybrid bees that are then able to live in the dry climate? Are they going to take over?
Very unlikely. The only thing they would possibly hybridize with is close relatives in the same genus. So, you might get a hybrid with some other, Asian hornets. There's there's another common Asian hornet that's related, but even those I don't think they're known to hybridize. Usually within a species, you can't really breed with other species. It's one of the common definitions of a species.
Well, except in West Virginia.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey, Jason. All right, so let's cap this thing. Help us out here, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, when you start reading these articles, everybody's just so prone to fear these days. I'm fascinated myself. All right, just to pet the dog a little bit, calm everybody down. What's 1 to 10 threat level?
1 to 10 threat level here?
Yeah.
For humans in general?
Yeah, and let's just go the whole 9 yards.
For our bees and everything?
Yeah.
Considering the whole honeybee thing, I don't know. It's hard to say. In terms of, people getting stung, stumbling to nests, that's a tiny thing. You're not going to see, that many. I mean, there's already, close to 100 deaths a year annually just from honeybees.
Right.
And I wouldn't worry too much about that. The only way you're going to get, directly hurt by these is if you stumble into a nest, which if you're, keep your eyes open, you're probably not going to stumble into a nest because they're kind of conspicuous.
Right. Right.
See these huge hornets gathering around a little hole or something. But, it happens.
Yeah, they're 3 feet long, aren't they? They're huge.
Yeah, what about the threat to the environmental threat 1 to 10?
That, I would start calling that anywhere around a 6 or more, just because there's a lot of unknowns here. And it's not just the honeybees. They can outcompete local wasps, too. So, even though no one really likes or cares too much about the yellow jackets, there are a lot of native species out there that, could just get totally outcompeted or even predated by these hornets. But the honeybees is a big one because that's, of economical importance to us. So exactly. I would, definitely worry about that.
So
and again, it's hard to tell at this point.
We got to get the bees and the yellow jackets and everybody to...
We got to get them team up. Start flying in formation.
That's
get
right.
this thing right.
All right, if we don't have to worry about them, what do we have to worry about in New Mexico? What's going to sting us, bite us? What's toxic? What do we really have here?
Gila monster.
We don't have Gila monsters, or at least if we do, they're only possibly in the extreme southwest part, a little boot heel by Arizona. But really our big danger here is rattlesnakes. That'd be the one thing I'd worry the most about.
Yeah,
that's something that can cause serious health issues and potentially death if untreated. It's a hemotoxic, cytotoxic venom that can destroy flesh basically. So any rattlesnake bite is a serious matter, and
All right, murder hornet versus rattlesnake. Who you got?
I would worry about the rattlesnake more. The Japanese giant hornet, it's, you got to really stumble into the nest. You got to get a lot of stings. And their venom is just not as toxic as rattlesnake.
No, I think he means if the rattlesnake is fighting.
Yeah, if the rattlesnake and the murder hornet's nest go head to head, who you got?
I'm going murder hornet.
Oh, definitely the hornets.
Yeah, see, all right, good. Well, glad to hear that. Hey, Jason, very informative. Thank you for petting the dog today.
Of course, my pleasure.
What's your favorite bug?
Favorite bug?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty well known around here for being obsessed with Goliath beetles. That's one of my coolest insects on earth. They're huge. We breed them here at the Bugarium. We've just about perfected the art of rearing these. They're usually a pretty difficult species in captivity, but our latest batch, we're getting them all to their full sizes like you'd find in the wild. So those should start becoming adults sometime in July and August. Wow, I'm super excited for that.
Oh, nice.
So, hopefully we open up pretty soon, but I'm pretty sure we'll be open around August, so that's something to look forward to.
All right, cool, man. Hey, well, thanks for talking to us today. We appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
You had to ask that last one.
Yeah.
You had to.
You think you go to his house and it's just full of bugs?
He's
watching beetle porn.
He brings home a date and I'm like, oh.
Well, he was talking about rearing them, wasn't he?
Yeah. Breeding and stuff. That's what you want in your entomologist.
Dude, didn't you? I don't know about you,
Yeah.
But when I grew up in elementary school, the part of the country I lived in, Alexandria, Virginia, everybody had raised decks on 2-story houses.
Yeah.
And so under the deck would be where everybody would store stuff. And you would play down there when you were a kid. And there were always wasp nests and hornets nets and stuff. And it used to be big fun for us to get a couple of rocks.
Yeah.
And 4 or 5 of us, we'd go in there real quiet and you'd bean that box, you'd bean that nest with the rock, and then you'd turn around and you haul ass. And I'll never forget once I was the least fast running guy in my group.
Yeah.
And as we all hauled ass away from this nest, we just stirred up. You could hear him. And all of a sudden I felt something behind my left ear, and oh my God, one of those suckers got me right behind my ear, man. That hurt, dude, that big time. And this is supposed to be worse.
Right.
Yeah, man. That's what you get for being a little prick. That's how you learn not to be a little prick, is you got to have some things like that happen. It's called karma.
That's right.
Yeah. Was there any more fun when you were a 7th, 8th grade-year-old kid than stirring up a nest and hauling ass?
Yeah, but then that feeling of running away, so scared you're crying, and running fast you can't. I don't know, was it worth it?
No, I gotta say no.
We did that stuff too.
Oh, God, every boy did. Every
Boys
girl
are
probably
idiots.
did too. Yes.
No, I didn't. We didn't do
No,
that.
That was the same guy who knew with a neighbor who had a Doberman pinscher, and you'd go around the corner, and come charging at you, and you'd have to run away before its leash slacked.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the dog on Foghorn Leghorn. Remember where he'd paddle it in the ass, and he knew exactly how long the leash was going to be, and he could stop running? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so it sounds like we don't really have anything to worry about.
I could have told you that, but still, you look at that picture, though. It's just like, oh, God damn, that thing, like that thing's got bad intent.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's of the devil.
It's up to no good. And it's always from Asia. Asian carp, Asian murderer hornet.
Well, you know, the question
coronavirus.
I forgot to ask him, the Africanized, bee that was the killer bees of the 70s.
Yeah.
What happened? How much damage did they do? Are they still around? Did they just
They probably got as far as Cuba and said, man, that's too damn far.
No, they got here, didn't they?
I don't know.
I think they did, but it didn't end up being some horrible thing, right?
I don't know. Did it?
You always hear
Try
about
telling that to somebody who got killed by a killer bee sting.
And then you hear about they got stung so many hundreds of times or whatever, and they found like 100 bees in their stomach.
Oh, God.
Stuff like that.
What are you talking about? You're making it
They
up.
would
now.
run and
that's true.
scream and all that, and then they end up in their mouths and they
Oh,
swallow them. I'm serious.
Because they're running and screaming.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it sure was nice to be kind of afraid about something else for a few minutes. So I hopefully we did that for you today.
That felt good.
Apparently, you should be more afraid of the tequila, according to our power ranking answers. I'll bust those out for you in a while, too. Worst thing that happened to you, was stupidest thing you did, or the dumbest or worst thing you saw happen to somebody else as a result of said tequila, which some would say is Satan as well. All right, Rob at 94rock.com. Hang on a minute.